Hey there, Margarita here, activator for the new code of power and a keeper of the blue flame. And I welcome you to the Rise Up with Margarita show. And if we haven't met yet, I am an activator for the new code of power, as I mentioned. And every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern, I cover a different topic on the Rise Up with Margarita show that will be designed to really help you rise up into your next level of power as a light worker. Because as you know, it's really our time to be shining right now, no matter how you're feeling, no matter how you feel about being visible. And that's actually going to be the topic of today's video and today's episode. It is called What Really Happens When You're a Visible Light Worker. And so we're going to talk about that. And as you know, I always stay on point with topic. So just going to be, going straight in there. And just to give you a little background, the reason why I am sharing this topic today is because something that happens sometimes as you grow in visibility and you start getting more followers, as you will soon learn to, is that there will be people who try to copy your work. And I'm going to share a little bit later on about how that looked like for me and what happened, which is really hilarious because the truth is that you guys are so awesome. It's like the thing is when light workers are united, that's why they're trying to divide us so much, because we're so potent by ourselves when we are stepping up into, our personal awesomeness. But then when we get together in union, ooh, watch out, right? So that is why the division programming on this planet is so on like high right now. We're actually getting bombarded with a lot of fear and scarcity programming as a result, so that we can get distracted into, oh God, what's going on in the world? There's a lot going on in the world. So I'm definitely not making light of that. But what I'm saying is that there's a lot of purposeful distractions so that we do not remember our power. And so I'm here to remind you of your power. So, okay. What I experienced last week, and which kind of helped me choose this topic for today. Actually, it's been happening the past 2 weeks because last week it was a different one. So as you start to really grow in number of followers and your audience and visibility grows, you will get all types of things going on, right? And so what happened was that you guys were flooding my DMs saying, "Oh my God, do you have a second account?" And giving me snapshots. You guys are so good. You were giving me screenshots of what was going on, and saying, "Oh, is this you?" and that kind of thing. And then letting me know that whomever this was DMing you about, like, I'm going to do a psychic reading for you. It's, you know, time per dollar basically. And if you have been watching my work, I don't charge time per dollar. That's actually old paradigm. And so that's like, for a lot of you, you were so on it and your intuition was like, there's something off about this, right? And you guys called it. And it's really funny because, a lot of times, I'm just going to say this, a lot of times light workers, they get to where they are to be in their embodiment of light by going into the fire and standing in it, right? And so you can imagine when you're standing in your fire and then you come up on the other end, no longer, stuck in your old paradigm stuff and your fear and, all this other stuff that's going on. It's like you literally start to open up into your spiritual badassery, right? And so I just find it really funny. It's like, why is this person trying to pretend to be me? When it's like, that's the whole thing, right? When you are vibrating highly, your vibrational frequency carries its own imprint and signature that people pick up on immediately. So how that looked like on the physical realm was that people who have been following me a while or people who have just started following me, they were all like, something fishy is going on here, right? And you pick it up immediately because of your vibrationary signature, right? And so just to confirm, I do only have one Instagram account. And so this happened on Instagram for those of you who are on Facebook as well right now. And I only have one account. So anything where there's an underscore before my name, Alcantara Acupuncture, or after my name, or any other special characters, those are all fake. Those are not me. I only have one account on Instagram, and I'm on it right now, right? So if you see that still, report it and then block it, because obviously they're not the real deal. So when you step into your power, you're actually going to be inviting more of this stuff, right? And this is not to scare you off and be like, oh, okay, so this confirms I'm not going to be visible, right? Um, this is why you get to welcome this. You get to embrace the fact that as you grow in your visibility, you will experience people who will not agree with you. You will experience people who don't even like you, right? Like they might not even like the way you're doing your hair or the way you sound or whatever. And is that going to stop you? It shouldn't, right? Because, on the whole, I get a lot of really lovely comments, right? But, there are some people who are just like, you're a terrible person, it's like, who are you to be doing this? How dare you? And blah, 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 right? And if that was me, like maybe 5, 7 years ago, I would have been mortified, mortified. But now it's just like I understand that comes with the territory. And of course, you get to that, and that's why you're so, it gets to be something where you take ownership of your power, you hone it, you cultivate it, you get familiar with what your energy signature is like, so that when other energies and frequencies and vibrations come in, you can call it out immediately and, be like, that's not mine, and you want to be really clear on your energy because there's a lot of energy toxins bombarding all of us right now. And so don't allow some judgments from random people or even people who stop you from showing up in visibility. And just to even share, like over the weekend, I did like a little question of like, what questions do you have for me about being visible as a light worker? And there were a lot of really interesting questions, right? And so just to be clear about what it means to be visible as a light worker, just in case, just to clear up any energy around that. A visible light worker is a light worker, someone who carries a high light quotient, who feels that calling to their higher purpose, to really step up in their service on the earth, to assist in the planetary awakening, to assist in transformation of the collective, as well as Gaia. So that's what a light worker is, right? And of course that can look like many different things. Traditionally they look like, healers, traditional roles like that. But, they're also all types of people, like in corporate, America, or, corporate anywhere, in media companies, like, they're all over the place, right? We're all over the place. And sometimes we know that we're light workers, sometimes we're not yet aware that we are. So when you're a visible light worker, you're actually being visible, you're making yourself seen and heard on platforms, and I guess you could call them marketing platforms, because social media, like videos, podcasts, things like that, right? And you're making yourself seen and heard so that people can find you and that you can help these people, right? You can help your ideal clients. And a lot of times what this means is that you're going to be doing things that you never thought you would have the ovaries or cojones to do, right? Which is to show up in big ways, to do things, learn new platforms, use new tech, things like that. And of course, embrace your visibility. Like, that's a big one too, right? So these are all aspects of being visible. And so I'm just checking my notes here too, making sure I'm on point for you guys. So the judgment from other people, is usually what stops most light workers from stepping up into their power in being visible and seen and heard. And here's the thing, I know you really want to be seen and heard. Like, I mean, I've spoken to so many light workers and they secretly desire to be seen and heard because they know they've got this big mission. But then they allow, some of them allow their fears about showing up in the world stop them, so they're afraid of getting judgment. They're not going to show up. Someone might smear my name. I'm not going to show up. I'm going to get a bad review. People are going to say negative things to me. I don't want to deal with it. I'm not going to show up, right? That's usually what a lot of light workers will tend to do. And I sure hope that isn't you, because the reality is that light workers have a huge purpose to fill. And when you do, it's really about embracing the challenges. That's what empowered light workers do. Hey, Jennifer. Jennifer says, yes, working with you blew that wide open. Thank you very much. Yeah, you're welcome, Jennifer. Yeah, she was in the mentorship program and she completed that. And so, yeah, now she's like doing videos all the time. I see you. I see you, Jennifer. So that's what I mean is that, you get to embrace your visibility as a light worker. And it's not just because you just wake up one day and be like, oh, I feel free, I feel fearless, and now I'm going to show up on social media, right? That never happens. Never happens. The way it usually looks like is, oh my God, I've got this huge purpose. I must fill it. And I need to be visible in order to do that. Crap. I'll do it anyway, right? And then it starts with a decision, right? That's how it starts. It starts with a decision. It doesn't come when the cows come home or when your child goes back to college or goes to college, or when you lose 5 pounds or when you have time or when you have money or whatever like that, right? It happens when you decide to be visible. So it comes with the territory, all this stuff, all this juiciness. So are you going to embrace it or not, right? All right. So here are some of the reasons why light workers will dodge being visible in the world. And I mentioned some of them before. So they're afraid of being judged, right? And just notice if anything comes up for you around that, right? So they're afraid of being judged. And that could mean from people they love, strangers. They're afraid of being ridiculed, such as like negative feedback and comments, bad reviews. People are saying nasty things about you or trying to smear your name and that kind of thing. They're afraid of getting ostracized. And this stuff, this one in particular is very old, like meaning usually from past lifetimes. It's usually because there's some lifetime or usually more than one where something violent actually happened as a result of you stepping up invisibility, right? And so a lot of times back in the day, it was death for you to be alienated from your group, right? Like, I mean, that meant you were like out in the wilderness and you didn't have, protection and you didn't have access to food unless you learned how to get it yourself. I mean, it was like really primal back then, right? And so that's why that feeling can be very primal too. Another thing is they're afraid of messing up. So it's this perfection thing. I will not show up until things are perfect, until I get everything I need, until everything settles down. It's that kind of dialogue. Also, they're afraid of being, this is connected to it. They're afraid of not being perfect. And let me just tell you the thing here. There's a running theme, if you haven't noticed already, and the running theme is fear. Fear of being ostracized. Being seen as crazy, not well informed, not taken seriously, and all that stuff, right? And here's the thing. No one will take you seriously if you don't take yourself seriously. If you don't have enough belief in yourself to be like, you know what, I believe in myself enough to show up with, some truth here. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it gets to be your truth. But it will not happen until you actually show up and speak it, right? And I don't mean like by yourself in the middle of your bedroom, right? I'm talking about to a larger audience, to people who can find you. So the running theme around all of this of why lightworkers dodge being visible is that there's that fear, right? So are you going to allow the fear to dictate how you show up? Or are you going to allow your service to dictate how you show up? And maybe dictate is too strong a word. It's like you get to lead with a service rather than leading with your fear. So I think I saw a question in here. Yeah, and this is a common question that I actually answered in the stories. I'm seeing here, I have not any certification regarding healing and psychology therapy, but I have natural, innate, ancient knowledge about it. How I make sure people about it because they question it. So again, it's that you get authority from taking ownership of the fact that you have wisdom to share. Like everyone here has wisdom to share, everyone. Like I don't even know all of your backgrounds and all of your, stories and stuff, but actually that's not important. The truth is that you do, right? You're here in this world, you're a light worker, you probably went through a gauntlet of stuff in order to get here, right? And some of you are still moving through some of that. And there's wisdom to be garnered from that, right? So the whole thing is that a lot of light workers are like, well, I'll wait until I get my certifications so that people can take me seriously. I'll tell you something. I got a master's of science in acupuncture. I've got certifications in all types of energy healing modalities and essential oil therapy based on Chinese medicine and chakra healing. And I even wrote a book on chakra healing, right? Like there's a lot of things that technically I could have ticked off the box and said, oh, now I got all my certifications. But the bottom line is this: no one cares about your certifications. They really don't. They're not going to be like looking you up unless they've got a lot of trust issues. And they're not going to look you up and be like, well, I want to see that they, did this and this and this, right? What's more important is that they feel connected to you, that they feel like you get them, and that they feel like they can trust you with what they're moving through, and that maybe you could be the solution to what they're dealing with. That's what they care about. They want solutions. They want help and assistance to address this burning issue that is keeping them up in the middle of the night. That's what they want. So that was a long way to answer you there, Monica, but it is about taking ownership of who you are and being enrolled first in yourself as an authority in this work, right? And especially if you like, because you're mentioning ancient knowledge, I see this with a lot of shamanic practitioners, right? Where they may not have certifications and apprenticeships, and I've had an apprenticeship in shamanic healing, and they call it medicine way. Actually, that's the correct term for it. But the truth is that when it's handed down to you, that's also really, really potent. And you get to take ownership of that. And if you're not, then other people will not take you seriously either. So I hope that helped. Okay. Someone else is saying, I've LinkedIn, I write on there, and I found fun, see how many people see it and see the different of other posts I sent. Yeah, so, that's good. That's good. That's part of it, right? That's the social media aspect. And also someone else saying, I like what you said about what they want, trust, and connection. Yes, absolutely. And I'm also seeing other questions too. And just as a reminder, I'm focusing on the topic at hand, which is what really happens when you're a visible light worker. So I mentioned, what I experienced in the past 1 to 2 weeks with my Instagram account and how we get to embrace it, right? Why light workers dodge being visible in the world. And here's why it's imperative for light workers to show up now. So we're in the middle of a planetary awakening. It's not the Great Reset. It's not anything else. It is the planetary awakening. This is our prophesied time, like prophesied for eons in like ancient scripts and like the Bible and so many sacred documents. It's here, okay? And you purposely incarnated in human form at this time so that you could be part of the fireworks that are currently shooting off right now, no matter how it looks like the fireworks are shooting off right now, okay? And it is your job to do you, to be the fullness of who you are, to embrace and embody the fullness of your potential and your power, your divine light in this world, and to show up with your powerful purpose. So, because your job really is to heal the collective, heal the planet, and to do it in your own unique way. And because all light workers are here to help heal, to provide wellness on some level, and so, but it's always a very specific level of impact that only you carry and can do. So very, very interesting. Okay. I'm seeing a question here. How about showing up in a way that also replenishes and honors our energy? Old wounded ways often have us overgiving or not receiving enough to continue giving the way we'd like. Well, that gets to be addressed, right? Because if it's still lingering, then you haven't really done the work. Because you might think that you did some work, but you really haven't gotten to the root of it. And so you must get actually to the root of whatever you are resisting. And it's similar to what I shared in my Instagram stories over the weekend, and some of them are still, up there that you can check. But it starts with getting connected to, well, what is your fear really about? What are you really resisting? Because if you haven't entirely healed it, then you haven't gone really, really deep. Like, that's just the honest truth. So go deep, do the work, go into what you're resisting, create awareness around it, be willing to go deeper, and then transform that. So what really happens when you're a visible light worker, number one, you get noticed. So it's not just about shooting a video, it's not just about making a post, it's about you sharing your vibrational signature, your vibrational imprint, so that others can experience your frequency. And here's what I mean by that. I am always getting DMs by people who just drop me DMs, right? Like, I mean, I used to be the one to like send DMs to people I didn't know, right? Just to like start conversation. Now they all start, just sending me DMs themselves, right? And there are prompts and ways to do that on social media, which I teach my private clients around strategy and being in your spiritual power and applying it in the earthly realm so that you get results in the earthly realm and be in your abundance, right? But it's really about your vibrational imprint. And when I check a lot of my DMs, it is usually something to the effect of, there's something about your energy that is drawing me to you, or there's something about the frequency in your eyes, or the vibration of your voice, or the frequency of your energy, right? And that would never happen if I was just doing static posts all the time of like quotes or anything that didn't show my face, right? Because the thing is that so many light workers on social media, they think, oh, I'm being visible because I'm showing up and making posts. If you are not showing your face, and especially if you're not speaking, then other people, can't really feel you. They don't really feel your vibration that much, right? So that is really why you get to be visible as a light worker, because it's a vibrational frequency. So number one, what really happens when you're a visible light worker, you get noticed. Number two, not everyone loves you. Some people will, some people won't. When you don't get attached to either, that's when you know you're really in your mastery around this. And so, yeah, it's really nice when people are like, oh, I like this about you, or you look great today, or, whatever. I mean, that's nice, but I don't really invest or expect that. And it's definitely not the reason why I show up, right? Because it shouldn't be the reason why you show up, right? So that you can get compliments and things like that. The reason you show up is because you have something to say, right? And so if you can have kind of like a similar reaction when you get negative comments, as well as when you get, positive comments, then you're really just kind of really in that neutral zone where you're like showing up in surface, and that's what you're leading with. Like, you don't get taken out by the drama of like, oh my God, they think I'm a terrible person. I mean, if that was me like 5 or 7 years ago, I probably would have felt that at first. But it's just, it's part of what happens. And so the truth is also, number three, people try to copy you. And this is something that I mentioned earlier in the broadcast. So people will try to copy you because you're becoming more visible, you're getting more followers. They kind of want to, use that towards their advantage. So then what they'll do is what they did with you guys is that they'll just start, DMing you with psychic readings. First of all, I don't do psychic readings. I don't even do single sessions. So that ain't me. That ain't me at all. And but here's the thing. No one can copy your frequency and your vibration, even if they copy your content. Like these people, they screenshotted my posts, but it doesn't have the same frequency because the person who created that, even if it's a bot, right? Because there's also negative AI, not just good AI, right? They can't capture your vibration. And so when you're leading with your vibration and you're leading in service, people will catch on that really quick, really, really quick. And in fact, you were the ones who did. And some of you were really, snippety snappity with the DMs back to these people, right? And it was really funny because you were letting me know what you were sharing as a response back to these DMs. And you don't play. That's all I got to say. You don't play. Number 4, what really happens when you're a visible light worker? Number 4, you get tested in your resolve. Okay, so just because you show up and you're visible doesn't mean like, oh, awesome, I'm all set, I have no fears whatsoever, it's all going to be easy from here, right? It's going to be easier to show up, but you will always get tested, right? And there will always be opportunities where you will be triggered. If you still have stuff that, is still unhealed, you will get triggered. And that is why it's so important to deal with your triggers, to work through them so that they no longer trigger you. Like, I'm not saying that they will be completely gone out of your stratosphere, but you can just, rather than it taking you out for a day or a week or a month or a year, instead it becomes, oh, there it is again. Yeah, not happening today, right? So that's what happens. And the more that you're in your power, and especially for those who are embodied in their power and activated in their power, and that's something that my private clients experience, they get accelerated into that frequency really, really fast. Because you can either do that, the long way and maybe get around to it in 5 or 10 years, which was kind of like, how long mine was. It was more like 10 years. Or you can, use my wisdom, apply it, get activated really quick, get on the shortcut, so that you can get on with your juicy spiritual self. So number 5, in what really happens when you're a visible light worker, you make a difference in the world. So that's why we're all doing this, right? You are leading in service as a leader of light, meaning you're leading the light frequency on this planet versus the energy of the world leading you. And there's a lot of fear on this planet. So if you're being led, you're either being led by your fear or led by love. And if you are, making a lot of excuses about why you're not showing up in the world, of why you can't do this, why you can't do that, you're enrolled in your fear, right? And that's just the truth. If you are leading with, I'm going to show up and make a difference so that I can make a difference in one person's life, you are leading in service. So that's the 5. So just to recap, what really happens when you're a visible light worker: number 1, you get noticed. Number 2, not everyone loves you. Number 3, people try to copy you. Number 4, you get tested in your resolve. And number 5, you make a difference in the world. Okay, so this is about allowing yourself to embrace your abilities, your talents, your divine power, allowing yourself to awaken fully into that. And, you can do that on a logical level, right? But being logical and reasonable and thought out and linear about your process is not going to get you very far. The reason being is because energy is not linear. Energy is a spiral. It goes backwards, forwards, sideways, diagonally. It doesn't make sense, right? It's not going to be logical. And so if you are really attached to everything looking a certain way and looking really logical, then you're going to be really disappointed and you're going to have a lot of frustration. So if you want to really make a difference, you get to relinquish your control issues. And ladies, I'm talking to you. Around how it's supposed to look like, because the truth is you don't really know what it's supposed to look like. If you haven't attained what it is you came here to do, you don't know what it really looks like. You know what you'd like it to look like, but if you are really like white knuckling your creation experience and what you're trying to manifest, then you are not trusting the universe. You're not trusting God, Great Spirit, Creator, Source, however you want to call it. And in order for you to step forward in your frequency and in service, it will require you to step into having enough courage so that you can make a difference in the world and lead the light through service. And when I say service, what I mean is you're showing up with your visibility. You're making offers to people who need your help, right? Because like a lot of people are like, ew, gross, I need to make offers, or ew, gross, I need to sell something, right? Well, here's the thing. If you are not offering your work and having a structure so that you can get paid for that, and reimbursed for the transformation you're providing, then you just have an expensive hobby. You do, right? And not only do you have an expensive hobby, but you are not really showing up in service, because just because you're a healer doesn't mean you're in service. You must apply your abilities and actually serve people, like through one-on-one group, offerings, whatever that looks like for you. And that's something that I help my private clients co-create, in our deeper transformational work together. That's what you get to do. It doesn't come from you just being like, okay, great, I'm a healer, I'm a light worker, so I'm in service now, right? It doesn't work that way. Having a knowledge and awareness that you're a healer, a light worker, what have you, is great, but that does not mean you're in service. When you're applying yourself, you are doing things that scare you, like being visible, making videos, doing things that help you be seen and heard so that your ideal clients can find you and ask you for help. And then you can actually help them, which means, yes, you're going to be selling, okay? You're going to have offers that will transform their lives, and it's actually a disservice for you to not offer that service to them. You are actually being selfish when you are not offering your services to them. And the reason why is because if you know it's going to change that person's life, but you're making it about you and what you're afraid they're going to say if you ask for the sale, or say, hey, this could change your life and it's X amount of dollars, right? And if you hold back just because you don't like to talk about money, you got money stories that you get to clear. And the thing is, if you let your money stories lead you, and your fears about asking for money, your fears about working with money, claiming your money, anything with that, you will not be in service. You just won't, because you won't make any offers, right? You're just going to kind of sit in your, apartment or home and be like, love and light everyone, and call it a day. But empowered light workers, they stand in the fire of their transformation, meaning they don't try to run away from it, they don't try to suppress it, they're with it, and they alchemize it. They alchemize their experience, they transform, they emerge, they apply, and they take action from an aligned place. And so that's why it's really important for you to be visible so that people can find you. I'm seeing a question here. I found that there is a lot of general fear holding me back. So any tips on letting go of the fear? So like I've said before, get connected to what you're resisting. And then find out why you're resisting it. And then be willing to go into that resistance and get it at the root and transform it. Be willing to transform it, really, really. Because if you transform it a little bit and then say, oh, okay, great, I did it, right? And if it's still lingering, you didn't do it. So, and that's the whole thing with healing in general is like, a lot of people are like, well, because this has happened in my private practice, right? Where there are a lot of people who just come in and they just want to get healed, right? And they come in and they're like, heal me, right? But the truth is that the healing is a self-made experience, meaning that I can be a facilitator and a powerful one of that for your healing and towards your healing. But at the end of the day, it's going to be as a result of you stepping up and claiming your healing. So sometimes what will happen is that some patients who just kind of want to come in and say they got like some healing sessions, and this is more for acupuncture or for Reiki, which I still do at my private practice 1 day a week. But then they don't get results, and it's like 5 years later, right? And way before that time, I will usually, like go deeper in with them and see what they're really resisting. And, because it should not take 5 years. It doesn't even need to take a full year. Doesn't even need to take like a couple months. You can actually transform and heal within like, a day if you allowed yourself. But if you feel you have addressed things and things are still lingering, it's because you haven't really allowed yourself to go deep and do that deeper work. And so that's just really the way it is. So once you get connected to, that resistance, then be clear about what you're choosing and go deeper into what you're resisting, being willing to do that, and then transform it. Yeah, Jennifer's saying, stand in your power and know when to ask for support. No need to do it alone. Yeah. And Ashma's saying, yes, the work starts within. Exactly. Because the thing here is, it's about really stepping into your power. And stepping into your power doesn't come from just simply saying it or stating it, right? It is an actual decision where you are, stepping in and stepping up, doing the scary actions that are aligned and will really get you seen and heard and make bigger impact. That's what empowered light workers do. So I've covered all of that for today's topic, right? Because as you know, I stay on point with these things. So the topic of today is what really happens when you're a visible light worker. And I shared what I experienced as a visible light worker 1 and 2 weeks ago, why light workers dodge being visible in the world and the underlying theme around that, why it's imperative for light workers to show up now, and also gave you five ways of what really happens when you're a visible light worker. And so I share these things with you not to scare you, right? But to give you a reality check that there are some people who actually think, oh, I'm actually being visible. Like someone actually asked me, right? Like, well, I'm being visible, but I don't feel comfortable telling people about it, right? It's like saying that you're visible, but you don't want to be visible. So there's a difference, right? That doesn't mean you're visible. So that's a thing, is that, if you're in between right now, or if you want to make a bigger impact and you don't know how, and you're not really showing up in the world, and you're not really, doing those scary things that feel really uncomfortable but are aligned for your destiny and your higher purpose, then you got a decision to make, right? And for those of you who are empowered light workers, who are stepping up in your visibility, I commend you and keep going, right? Because we need more of you in this world. And if you are striving as a light worker, or you are empowered as a light worker, and striving means that you're connected with your purpose and your heart power, you are connected with the value you provide in the world. You're starting to dabble into visibility, maybe. You're starting to transform your money issues and your money stories. And you're really stepping up in your worth and really transforming that, and no longer you're making that transition from leading with fear to leading in service and love. That's a striving light worker. An empowered light worker is already stepping up in visibility, is already showing up, making offers, making impact, greater impact in the world. Maybe they're starting to get some followers now on their account. They've already got some launches going on. They're making their offers already. So that's what an empowered light worker is. And so, Unity Yoga is saying, striving over here. So perfect. That's beautiful, right? That's great that you're striving. And so I do help those who are striving and empowered light workers get to the next level of their power, because, and here's another thing too, is that a lot of light workers are like, oh yeah, well, I don't need help. I'm already in my power. And the truth is, that's coming from a knowledge place, right? That's coming from a logical place. It's like, I know I'm in my power, but are you embodied in your power? And also, people who are really truly in their power, they know that there's always the next level to being in their power. You never stop learning. You never stop being in your mastery. And that's something I want to, leave with you on, is that if you are feeling complacent, you are likely not being in service. If you are feeling settled and in comfort, you are likely not being in service. If you are uncomfortable on a daily basis, doing things that scare the living crap out of you, but you know it's going to help others, you are showing up in service. If you are making offers to those who could use your help, you are an empowered light worker, right? And if you are showing up in visibility, even when it's difficult, even when you get tech issues, or your hair looks like crap, or you didn't sleep well the previous day, right? And you still show up and you don't make excuses about it, then you are showing up more as an empowered light worker. So since I help striving and empowered light workers step into the next level of their power, if that resonates for you, if you're connected with your powerful purpose, you're connected with your heart, and you'd like to learn more about being supported so that you don't have to lone wolf your life, because you could, I'm not saying you need me, right? Because you could possibly get there in 5 or 10 years on your own. But, we're in the middle of a planetary awakening, and it gets down to, are you okay with waiting 5 or 10 years to help people in the middle of a crisis on the planet? I mean, I know what my answer is, and that's why, I got the support that I needed because I have my own coach, right? And because I know I have my priorities. And so it's about your priorities. And that goes true for those of you who say, I don't have the time to do this. I don't have the time to show up and show up on social media. I don't have the time to do this. I'm a single mom. I do this and that. I have 2 jobs or whatever, right? I have clients who do have jobs. I have clients who are single moms and they are working it, right? And not from a place of exhaustion and fatigue and hustle, right? Because that's not part of the new paradigm. The new paradigm is about working with your abilities and your grace and your flow, because that's part of that female divine feminine inspiration within us, right? And trusting the mystery of our essence, that is the gift of our divine feminine. And no matter what gender you are in this realm, right? Everyone has a divine feminine and a divine masculine, and it's about transforming, unifying, and being in oneness within yourself. And that's also the secret too of showing up in service. If you're really concerned about all of the discord in the world that you're viewing and you want to change it, and you're like, well, how do I do that? Because there's so much, crap hitting the fan right now. Change what's going on within. Shift the dialogue within. And this is not positive thinking, right? Because some person actually thought, okay, so you think this is just all about thinking positively. This is not about thinking positively. It's about shifting your vibrational frequency and your signature to align with yourself as a creator being, because you are creating every single day. Believe it or not, you're creating something, right? And you're either creating more fear or you're creating more light, more love, and more power in your life through service, right? So, and Lone Wolf Hiker saying, I think I have something to think about here. Money issue. Yes. Wonderful. And I love that you're sharing what you get to work on, right? Because the only way that you can transform something is to allow it to come into your awareness. And for me, that always comes through meditation and also through just being conscious about how I live my life. Sometimes it's just moment by moment, So I hope that served you. And join us next week for the next episode of the Rise Up with Margarita show. Next week is the 20th. So Monday the 20th at 2 p.m. Eastern, I will be live again. And so I'll be coming up with, a new topic. And so in the meantime, I challenge you to make a decision about what you are going to do next to step up in your power as a light worker. And go ahead and share that in the comments below, whether it's, still when we're live or later on replay. Either way is fine, right? But it's when you write it down, you're claiming it to the universe. So much love from Arctic Norway. Oh, so glad you're able to join us. Yes. It's an international affair. This is a global experience. We are experiencing a global experience, and the way to heal the outside is to heal your inside. If you're all a hot mess in here, address that first and transform it so that then you can emanate that frequency and light and radiance into the world. And if you'd like assistance with that, DM me what your powerful purpose is, and let's discuss what your powerful next steps could look like. Okay? So have a wonderful week, everyone. Much love, light, and power.